A brand new edition of The Outer Worlds is arriving on the next generation consoles and PC as a new next gen version of the game, but of course it's going to be a new edition of the game as well. And in today's video we're going to go over how to actually play this new edition when it does arrive. This will be a complete guide going over how you can get this new edition and how it will work and everything like that, and also everything we know about this new edition as well. We'll look at that as well, and we'll probably look at that first too. So yeah, this video is going to be going over how to play the new Outer Worlds edition as part of this new next generation version, which will arrive on course on the next generation consoles and PC on the 7th of March. So let's waste no more time and let's get straight into the video. So first of all, we're going to go over everything we know so far. So first of all, we know this is called the Spacer's Choice edition of the game, and this is basically going to be an upgrade for the next generation consoles. This means that if you're on an older console, then unfortunately you won't be able to get this edition, but in the end of the day it's not really going to matter that much since you've already got the entire game with all of the DLCs, and you don't really need this edition since it's for the next generation consoles and it's mainly about optimizing the game for the next generation consoles. So to be honest, if you're on a PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, then you're not really missing out on that much since your console won't be able to handle this version. So yeah, you're not really missing out on anything, to be honest. There'll be no, significant new content or anything like that. But there is a few cool things for those of you that do have a next generation console. First of all, the game is going to be remastered with better graphics, and there have already been some minor comparisons, and on screen now I'm going to show you some of these comparisons from the trailer. There's a couple screenshots, one or two, just of the differences between this new version and the older version. Now these comparisons are pretty poor, to be honest. I think it'll be better once we actually have it ourselves in a couple days, and we're able to test it out ourselves, and there'll be loads of great comparison videos out there and you'll be able to check those out, and they'll definitely provide a better better comparison compared to these screenshots. So I'm sure that they're showing some of the better parts of the game, to be honest, just to really show off the new graphics. But either way, they are going to be remastered with better graphics. Whether that's a major difference or not, we don't really know too much about that yet, but it is going to be slightly better. We also know it's going to be improved performance. Now this, I assume, means higher frame rate. I assume this means 60 frames per second. I don't think there'll be 120 frames per second. I find that very, very unlikely. Now, if you are on an Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5, I believe you already have 60 frames per second. On the Xbox Series S at the moment, there isn't a 60 frames per second mode, but I assume there will be a 60 frames per second mode and possibly a 30 frames per second mode as well. It's possible that there will be, higher graphical capabilities on the lower frame rate modes, and then with the other modes, you'll be able to get, the higher frame rates, but you'll be getting lower graphics, but probably still better than the previous generation version of the game. Now with this next generation update, like I mentioned, on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, it's not going to be as significant with this frame rate upgrade, since the game, since I believe early about a year ago, but in 2021, or well, no, 2 years ago now, we did get a patch for the game on Xbox and PlayStation 5, which makes the game run at 60 frames per second. Now, obviously, it's not going to be as optimized as it will be now, so it'll be probably a smoother frame rate, but it has still been at 60 frames per second on the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 for quite some time now, so that upgrade won't be as significant. However, if you're on an Xbox Series S, there's a good chance you'll be getting 60 frames per second, so that's definitely something to look out for, and it will be a significant improvement, since right now, even with the FPS boost feature on the Xbox consoles, on the Series S it is still 30 frames per second, so hopefully we'll get 60 frames per second, but that hasn't been confirmed yet. There is also going to be additional animations. I assume this just means, general animations will be smoother, some smoother interactions, and just generally more detailed. I don't think it'll be anything that significant, to be honest, just another thing they can put in there, but obviously there will be some additional animations, generally I would say making the game seem a bit, smoother and everything like that. So yeah, additional animations will be part of this new version, but yeah, like I said, I don't think that will have a massive impact. There is also going to be high resolution environments. Now, to be honest, this could just be included under the better graphics. It's going to, they're sort of the same really, but either way, it's going to be a high resolution. I assume this means probably a native 4K resolution, since the next generation consoles on a game like Outer Worlds, which is a couple years old now, they could definitely take advantage of a high resolution of the game. So I assume on both the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 it'll be a high resolution. Xbox Series S probably not, since I assume that will stick at 1080p, maybe 1440p, but I would say 1080p is what it will stick at. But yeah, there'll be a high resolution environment for the next generation consoles. I assume that means a native 4K, but we'll wait and see. And they also say there's going to be more than that. So not only that, but there's also going to be some more. I would say, since it's just generally this is a next generation upgrade, I wouldn't expect it to be much more than that. With a next generation upgrade, you don't tend to get more than that, but we'll see. Maybe, the UI will be slightly improved. I assume on the PlayStation 5 controller, you'll have the haptic feedback and, of course, the adaptive triggers put into play. That should be the case. That's usually the case with a PlayStation 5 version of a game. I've never known it not be the case. So hopefully, you'll be able to take advantage of the adaptive triggers if you want to use them. Of course, if you don't, then you can turn those off. But yeah, I assume that's something that will be included. And, of course, faster loading time times is always going to be the case, since the game is generally just optimized for those next generation consoles. But in terms of the next generation features that will, be taking advantage of those powerful consoles, that is the features we'll be getting. But that isn't where it ends. There is also going to be an increased level cap. A higher level cap means even more ways to build your character from the 7 branches of the skill tree in the Outer Worlds. You'll be able to basically get more content out of the game and make the game last longer. That's going to be one of the significant changes with this new version. Now, unfortunately, it looks like that won't be coming to the older consoles. Maybe as some sort of an update it will, but I find that unlikely, since obviously they're going to want people to upgrade to this new version, and that's going to definitely tempt people. So yeah, we'll have to see. But if you're on a next generation console, you will definitely be getting an increased level cap, basically allowing for more time within the game and more stuff to do within the game. Since the game is a couple years old now, a lot of people have finished pretty much everything, so that's going to give you something extra to be able to do, and something extra to work towards within the Outer Worlds. So, that is everything we know about that will be arriving with this new version, the Spacer's Choice Edition of the Outer Worlds. That is everything that has been confirmed by the developers. Of course, they've said there will be some more stuff, but I generally think that's the main stuff. All the other stuff might be some minor changes, but there still could be some cool other additions. We'll just have to wait and see when the game does release on March 7th. Really, really close now, just a couple of days away. So, of course, now we're going to look at how you can actually get this new edition, since it's really not that straightforward, to be honest. It's a little bit complicated. So, basically, yeah, I'll explain it all right now. So, on March 7th of 2023, so literally in a couple days, this new edition, Spacer's Choice Edition, will go live on those next generation consoles and PC. Now, unfortunately, this upgrade isn't free. You're going to have to pay $10 or around £5 to be able to upgrade to the Spacer's Choice Edition of the game. And this doesn't mean just having the base game and then upgrading to that. You're also going to need the DLCs, the previous, DLCs on the previous generation consoles, or just the previous generation versions of the game. You're going to need absolutely everything. First of all, you're going to need the Outer Worlds base game. This can be either physical or digital, it doesn't matter. And then of course the 2 DLCs are only available digitally, so these being the Outer Worlds Peril on Gorgon and the Outer Worlds Murder on Eridanos. You're going to need both of those. You'll have to have them to be able to have this upgrade available to you. Now, unfortunately for you Game Pass users, you do have to actually properly own the game. Unfortunately, using the Game Pass version of the Outer Worlds isn't going to cut it. You will have to purchase the base game and then purchase the 2 expansions. Just purchasing the expansion pass and using the Game Pass base game won't work. And if you are on PC, this does mean that you have to have all of these 3 things on the same launcher. You have to have the physical version of the game, or digital version. It's mainly going to be digital if you're on PC, and then you have to have the 2 expansions all on the same launcher to be able to then get the option to get this upgrade. And it has been stated that you are limited to 1 upgrade per account, although I'm not really sure how you'd get a second upgrade on the same account. But yeah, basically 1 upgrade per account, and this will be done for $10 or around £5, providing that you have the base game and the 2 expansions. So once this does release, there'll be multiple versions of this game you can purchase. First of all, you'll be able to purchase the base game by itself, and then of course there is the already bundle that already exists, that being the Outer Worlds non-mandatory corporate sponsored bundle. This is basically a bundle that does include the base game and the 2 expansions, and if you don't own the Outer Worlds, then that's probably what you're going to want to go ahead and purchase before this does arrive, and then you can just purchase the cheap upgrades to get this new version for the next generation consoles. Or alternatively, you could just wait until the 7th of March and then purchase this new edition. Unfortunately, we don't really have a price for this, although my guess is that it'll be £50 or $50, and this basically, the Spacer's Choice Edition, will be a complete edition of the game, including the base game and the 2 DLCs, and of course that will be for the next generation consoles only, and that is also an option. Unfortunately, you can't pre-order this, you do just have to wait for the launch day, and at the moment there is no physical copy of the game that hasn't been confirmed. I reckon there might be at some point, although at the same time it might not, since we didn't really get one for the other bundle that we got, so we'll just have to see. But either way, on the 7th of March you can purchase this new edition, or of course you can upgrade to this new edition, providing you have the base game and the 2 DLCs on the same platform, and then you can just upgrade to this new edition. And that is how you are able to get the Spacer's Choice Edition of the Outer Worlds that will launch on the 7th of March. I hope this has helped. I've gone through absolutely everything that we know about this new edition and how it's all going to work when it does release, and that does just about wrap up things here. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any content just like this. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.